Hello. Hello. All right, let me see here. All right, live stream. Live stream is going on, and yeah, we're just doing some photo editing, photo culling and editing, and yeah, just blowing through a bunch of images from the last 8 years. I did a big photo edit on Saturday. Spent about 4 hours, 5 hours going through about 10,000 images. And the way I do it, I'll show you what I basically set up a folder that I want to collect all the images that I think are interesting, put them all in there. And I don't think about categories. I don't think about grouping them or anything. It's just like, is an image interesting or not, or worth coming back to? And so I just create a folder for that. And then what you do is you set what's called a target collection. So you create a collection. This is in Lightroom Classic. So create a collection, make it the target collection. And then what that lets you do is, like, as you go through images, you can go through quick, fast like this. Anything that's even mildly interesting, you hit B, the B button on the keyboard, and it puts it into the target collection. So it's just kind of an easy way to really rapidly go through a big set of photos and kind of put them, especially photos you've already kind of edited before or have previously taken the cruft out of. It's a good way to then start to pull out from a variety of collections some other bigger collection set that you're trying to produce and put it into a single place. So that's kind of what I've done. And so I've gone through about 10,000 images and we're down to 567. And then today what I want to do, hello Toto. Today what I want to do is go through these 567 images a couple times and start to move them into what I'm calling cull number 1, which is an empty collection right now, but it's set as our target. And when I hit B, it'll start moving things in there. And what I did is I just went back through photos, all the photos I've taken over the last 8 years, essentially connected with the Key Peninsula. And this next book that I'm in the middle of producing is about the Key Peninsula in general, which covers, you know, all of Kumano-Kodo and other things there. But instead of having it be sort of Kumano-Kodo specific, it's more about the peninsula and the people of the peninsula. But all the photos I've taken on the Kumano-Kodo kind of fall into that. It was really fascinating as a kind of project to go through sequentially over the course of 4 or 5 hours without stopping all the images I've taken on the Key Peninsula from 2013 and seeing where my photographic style changed significantly, and when it became more interesting and when it became a little more, when it felt like I kind of acclimatized to the superficial qualities of Kumano-Kodo and sort of shooting inside in the key space, and sort of where my eyes started to go to around 2018 is when it got interesting. So that was kind of neat to see. I hadn't really pinpointed when a certain style of photography came up for me. And that was right after I'd done Vipassana, and then it was also when I did my first truly solo walk. I think it was like 8 or 10 days on the Kumano-Kodo alone. And that, I think, was quite powerful. And I've, you know, looking at the photos even more now, I realize that solitude is a big part of photography for me. And in fact, it's kind of, in a lot of ways, non-negotiable for doing the kind of photos I want to do. So anyway, that's the preamble. I'm kind of pre-preambling just because this will be archived. So anyone who misses the live stream can tune in and kind of get an update and try to treat this as a tutorial. So we're just going to go through pretty quickly, and I just want to kind of create another subset of sort of, you know, images that I'm even more excited about. So was very liberal in this kind of first pass of just trying to think about images and spaces, and there's something kind of nice about that. And so for the book, in the end, we're looking for about, I don't know, I'd say we want 100 images that we're kind of excited about, and then we will further cull those down to like 60 maybe maximum for the book. So we're trying to figure out what that looks like. As my friend John just like that photo. I think this is just kind of, these snow photos are kind of amazing because I think these are taken with iPhone. Yeah, these are just iPhone photos. Is this just iPhone 2? Yeah, iPhone 6. Just iPhone 6 photos. There is something kind of neat about the snow. But that said, not that exciting. This is when I got the Leica Q, and so the quality kind of goes up pretty quickly. Kind of like this image. Let me see. Let me, if we can duplicate it. So one of the ways I work with photos is I do tons of duplications, and I think it's absolutely insane. What does it look like in color? Absolutely insane to not to duplicate, it's Command apostrophe, to just duplicate and do different edits on things. Do that rapidly. You know, like what happens if we start to like really crank this, you know, the exposure up a little bit, bring the shadows down, maybe pull those highlights back a little bit. I'm not sure, I'm not quite, there's periods where I was like, oh, I need to add clarity to everything, but I'm not entirely sure that's true. What ISO is this? 3200, interesting. It's a little noisy, isn't it? But there's no noise reduction on this, so we can add a little bit of noise reduction. Did that do anything? Yeah, a little bit. So you can do a little bit of noise reduction and then go and do a little bit of clarity to kind of bring back a bit of the looks pretty good in black and white, doesn't it? That's why we do these tests, to kind of, actually I think this black and white one is probably a little bit underexposed. And then it's interesting, pulling back the highlights a lot, like we're kind of trying to get rid of, we don't want to go into HDR mode, which can happen if you pull down the highlights too much, but to just get a little more detail in sort of like these areas. You're kind of losing detail when it's at 0, and then you can pull back and you just get a little more definition of, like, say, that bamboo. So slightly different edit, and then actually we could kind of try cropping in. I kind of feel like they're a little too high in the frame. Anyway, this is not what we're supposed to be doing right now. This is not. So anyway, you got these 3 versions, but I'll put that, hit B, stick it in the folder. And then I have these. One thing that drives me crazy about Lightroom is it doesn't remember your interface setup. Whenever you reopen it, the interface kind of like resets on you, so it's pretty annoying. I don't know what's something funny going on here with like the light. Oh, there we go. It was in the middle of kind of transforming an edit. But this, I like the image, but there's definitely crazy things going on. This is the original. Let me see if I can show you. No, it's not letting me. This is my edit, but you can see there's kind of a crazy. There's a little bit of a shadow here because there's a giant light there that is pretty glaring. Yeah, Martin, moving highlights to the left really is kind of like this stupid superpower. This is one of the advantages to shooting in RAW, is it just gives you way more dynamic range to play with. And for pulling down those highlights, this is the light that I took out of the other one. Pulling down those highlights, it really does make a huge difference. So I don't know, none of these photos are really compelling to me at all. I don't even, like, that's not even that interesting to me. This is sort of interesting only in, this is when I was shooting with the Leica monochrome. I guess I'll be pretty liberal on these moves as well. Like, I think I shot this bridge from the road last month, so it could be interesting to kind of contrast those two shots. This stuff, it's so weird, the edits on these black and whites. So this is back in 2016 when I shot these, and I wasn't cropping. These feel way too long to me now. So I started cropping 4x5 in portrait, and for me, that feels pretty important. Why was I blasting the exposure on these edits? I don't entirely get what I was doing there. But the monochrome really was like shooting with a and look at the clarity on clarity. Oh my god. I wouldn't do these things. And the blacks, why am I crushing the blacks like that? So maybe that's a little, but we can now pull down these highlights. Pull down the contrast a little. And then what I could do, I mean, there's something kind of nice about the light in here. And what you could do is you could do sort of a, if we're, we're not supposed to be doing this, but like you could do sort of a little adjustment brush down here. You don't want a full stop, but you could give that area just a little bump, a little glow down there, which could be kind of fun. But anyway, we'll add it, but it's not that interesting. These two, god, the edits on these things are so weird. Like, look how much what was I doing? I haven't looked at these in years, really. And this clarity, all this stuff. Ugh. Anyway. And then what if we crop this? I mean, in the crop you lose some of that length, but I just find 4x5 in portrait sits for me so much better than 2x3, the standard that comes out of a lot of these cameras. Anyway, we'll stick it in there. This is the famous egg boiling bin. We're gonna see that many times. This is kind of, look at, oh, okay. How do we, wait, photo, reset. Is there, what's the command key to just reset all the edits? Develop. No. Reset all settings. Why can't I command down to the command shift R? Okay, boom. Wow, look at that. This is where it started. That's kind of crazy. That's interesting to see. So I'd kind of done this sort of thing, but actually I'm not against that branch in the foreground. Look at that, it's interesting. The clarity creates those halos, those kind of weird localized halos. I don't know how I feel about that. Anyway, we'll stick that in there. I'm gonna get rid of these. Almost all of them. Kind of curious about Oops. What did that start as? Nothing. It wasn't edited. Yeah, these monochrome files are just so funky. They don't really... I think I was I overexposing in camera? I don't know. Anyway, we'll add it to the thing. Some of these photos were in Koya bound. This is a Buddhist monk from Massachusetts that we met along the route. It's kind of a interesting... the thing is, I don't think a lot of these photos aren't going to fit with the narrative that I am producing. So that's kind of the next stage, is like how do these images align with the writing? But for now, we're just trying to get a sense of what exists image-wise and what is or isn't interesting. We're just trying to kind of like warm our eyes up, so we're not too concerned about this. Man, I was a clarity crackhead back in the day. What was I thinking? Anyway, most of these are not particularly interesting, but we're just kind of, like I said, just trying to think about I'm gonna hit X's on stuff that I definitely am not ever gonna use. So like, we're Xing that one out. Dead. Here we are back at the beautiful egg cooker. So now we're in, I think this is Leica Q category. Is it? Should be, yeah. So we've moved to Leica Q, so stuff's just gonna have a lot more. What's going to be in color? And it's not going to be iPhone based. It's interesting. This Q file feels way more finicky than I remember Q files feeling. What is going on here? So now we're... When was it shot? 2016. So I guess this is... Oops. Like a Q. Yeah, I don't know if that... So we have about 1 trillion photos of this thing, but could be nice, could be kind of fun. One of them will get in. Yeah, I'm sure the YouTube algorithms are freaking out with all this movement. A lot of movement on the screen here. Or the OBS algorithms, I guess. And hopefully my computer doesn't melt down. So, hold on, let's see if we can turn off Time Machine. I have this very annoying Time Machine. Okay, turning off backup automatically, yeah. It keeps kicking in, and my networked Time Machine drive doesn't have enough space. So it kicks in, it blasts the CPU trying to prepare for Time Machine. And then it realizes, oh, it doesn't have enough space, and then it stops. And then 20 minutes later, it kicks in again. Anyway, Apple's engineering on certain things is truly shocking. I don't understand why that. This is kind of funny. Why is this guy? So anyway, we're in. What year is this? 2016. Late 2016. Yes, November 2016. I'm starting to kind of like look at buildings more closely, and I'm starting to look at textures more closely, and I'm starting to get away from, thank God, the general sort of just nature focused shooting that I was doing before. It's just, you're just trying to figure out, that is rejected. You're just trying to figure out how to, this is kind of funny that I did like an astrophotography thing with the Q. I don't know if this is worth thinking about, but it's definitely a unique image in the pantheon of key images. This could be kind of interesting as a almost redone original. Come on, man. As a crop like this, but yeah, not. We can get we can get that moss detail back. That's kind of, again, this is, shooting raw. I know a lot of people are like, just shoot JPEG and it'll be, raw files aren't that big. After doing video work, I'm just like, oh man, photography is so small. But what you're able to do is, oh, look at that. We have all this amazing detail in the moss and it looks kind of lovely over there. So let's get that back. Anyway, I don't think that's very interesting. Focus on this one is in the wrong place. This is the problem with shooting with like the Q, is relying on autofocus. Autofocus, it's funny, after shooting with the M where there is no autofocus really does feel like you're losing a certain amount of control, especially for like slow photography. The Q does have good manual focus, but it kind of invites you to be more autofocus dependent. So you end up with these shots where, like, we don't want these trees, that they shouldn't be in focus. That doesn't make sense. Bruce asks if the Leica sensors run hot. I always underexpose because I find that, yeah, for the most part, cameras seem to be a little bit over optimized to run hot. I think if you're gonna just give people an image to use out of camera, overexposing is the way to go. But if you want to have the most control after the fact, then you need to underexposing camera. So I'm always shooting about 1/3 of a stop underexposed. See you, Marcin. Yeah, you can hop back in afterwards. The archive will be up. Hope your typewriter book is going well. So what am I doing here? Why am I looking at this thing? Anyway, well, I'm not against it. Here I am again at the fire ceremony. Here's the ramen guy again. Here is some Shingon Buddhist fire ceremony stuff, which looks kind of cool. But again, like, I'm not interested in images like this. They just aren't compelling to me. Aren't there's nothing really fascinating about. I mean, that's quite nice in black and white. Through the window. The framing of this one is a little weird. I want to get that. Let's see, let's play with a little. Can warm it up a little. See if what kind of details are down here in the shadows. So it kind of looks like a train now, doesn't it? But we can, if we kick up the shadows a little, you kind of notice that you're in a place. We're in a temple. This is I believe this is Eikoin. This is on Koyasan. Yeah, I mean, even when I shoot video on the Sony autofocus is great. And so like this is the Sony right here, and so very good. It'll get my hand, it'll come back to my face. As long as my face isn't completely occluded, it will stay with the face. Like that's actually quite great. So for this sort of thing, it's good. But when I was shooting like the Kisa videos or whatever, and when I go and shoot production videos, it's all manual. It has to be. You just can't trust the autofocus. It's crazy. Anyway, this is sort of fun. We're not trying to be too crazy strict about this stuff, but yeah, I don't know. I kind of understand why I included these images, but okay, now here's where the shift started to happen. So this is 2018, and I'm like, laundry. What about laundry? What if we started shooting, village life and domestic things, and sort of started to ignore all of the cliches of Oriental shrines, fire ceremonies, like stuff like that you're kind of drawn to because of its quote unquote mystery or whatever, but actually is quite banal in the context of this place. But what starts to become more interesting are these bits and pieces, like anthropological pieces. So someone's like underwear kind of hung up there, but there's kind of an interesting gate in front of it. Anyway, stop. Some random car. Started shooting the mirrors, sort of seeing what's going on. Mirror wise, I kind of get what was happening here. I think I just kind of thought the light here was kind of nice. This is an image I had never touched before. So let's, this is stage 1. Or stage 2. Stage 1 was to just get a pile of images. Stage 2 is to start to look more closely. I'm back here again. It's not winter now. Interesting. So this is me one step to the left of that previous shot, but there could be some kind of fun seasonal diptych going on here. We can actually, so if we go into this mode and we go to collection, we can go into the collection that has this. We can check to see, photos around it, any other angles that I might have taken. So like, that could be kind of fun in a way to like put this one alongside the winter one from a slightly different angle. So it's showing you, because this is where I would have been standing when I took the winter one, except facing the windows directly. Anyway, we'll stick that in. Why not? And then we can go back to where we were before. Go back in develop mode. I just thought this light was kind of fun. Anyway, not fun enough. Yeah, and here we go. This is at the start of my solo walk. My first ever solo walk. And yeah, and like these edits right now, we're just trying to see what's here. What are these images made of? What are the bits and pieces? What's catching our eye? What kind of light patterns do we have throughout? And you know, is it worth spending time with these things or not? And then we'll do more culling, and then we'll do a huge sort of like tweezers edit. It's just looking really closely at everything. Just trying to see what we can do with this image. It's sort of like midday kind of nasty light, but I like this guy. This is the cover of the next Teju Cole book. I'm being so liberal, and I'm kind of throwing all these mirrors in there right now because I'll go through and we'll do like mirrors only check, and we'll pick one mirror or two mirrors for the final book. This sort of stuff I kind of like just for textures. I have better versions of things like this. You know, it's just like, what can we get out of this image? Where can we take it? What does it have in it? Yeah, put it in there. Like this is a good example of like I would shoot this differently now. You know, it's kind of like, ooh, gnarly tree. There's something kind of fun about that. But let's Command Shift R, knock it back to, oops. Knock it back to where it started. We'll do a quick, you know, this angle's a little bit more, and actually we could maybe even crop in more closely, and maybe this is this kind of insane tangle is really what this photo's about. You can definitely, this is just a really good example of pulling down the highlights, and suddenly you have a background here in a way you didn't before. And there's some chromatic abrasion issues, I guess, that can pop up here, but you can also reduce that, remove. So I wonder if turning that on and off. I don't know. I don't really see a big effect. But so, you know, thinking about in the layout of the book, this kind of gnarled thing next to a certain kind of story could be quite fun. And I kind of make lots of copies of things. Like this photo I'm not making a copy of because, oops, because I just don't think it was ever in a truly special place, so there's nothing to kind of preserve here. But like I prefer this image over the big towering cedars because this is sort of getting at the industry component of the Key Peninsula, which is logging. And I have other photos that are much better, but you know, there's something kind of nice about this. And again, it's like both the image, the interestingness of the image, and then also thinking about stories and what these images are going to be kind of playing against. Yeah, I think with a tree, I would shoot it differently in the sense I wouldn't be trying to get the whole tree. I mean, that tree has been shot 100 million times. Anyone who's walked past that tree has shot that tree, you know, like that. And so I just made a copy of this, and because I want to do a different crop. I think that other one was originally kind of cropped for. Ooh, let me see if I can turn off. Stop syncing. Other one was cropped for, I think, iPhone wallpapers. Cloud Drive Daemon. This just has pleasing colors, doesn't it? It's kind of just pleasing as a... Anyway, we'll stick it in. But like I was saying, in terms of industry-specific stuff, like this image is way more fun. Don't show again. Never show me anything again, please. Adobe software. Okay. There's something nice about that image as well. That you are on the right way. This is kind of, let me see here. I'd sort of, let's reset that. Let's recrop. You know, we're trying to get to those. Just warmer images, and without getting into HDR territory, you're on the right way. So this is not a beautiful image, but there's a story in the book that prominently features that place, so it might be worth keeping. I like that image. Here's an image that does not need to be in anything. We're gonna need one sort of like over the peninsula shot, you know, kind of showing the range, and I don't know which one it'll be. I suspect it's going to be a shot from the Omine Okugake Michi, rather than one of these from like a quote unquote standard spot. But you know, something kind of nice about that, the light at that moment. This is not going to be in there. Also not interesting. This is, I really like this image. The light, the stone cutting. Let's see. I think we can get a little more detail in the back there without losing. See, we're going, like the original image was this, and we're going to this. Which is much closer to like what my eye saw. Here we are again back here. I love this guy. I want this guy to be in a book. The wires, the poles, the hiddenness of it, the kind of the fact that it sort of has no utility. It's all pretty fun. This little guy, can we get a little more out of this? Yeah, maybe that's what was kind of driving me nuts, is it was cropped too low before. And we can definitely get a little more of that wood. And like I said, like there's a whole another crazy range of edits that will happen like 2 stages down from here that will happen on the iPad. Actually, I really like doing my dial in localized brushwork on the iPad. It works pretty well. That's the only reason I have I really like this image too. It's the only reason I have the Adobe cloud storage, is to be able to move stuff back and forth. No. What's happening here? What can we do with this? Looks like I hadn't touched this yet. Stuff that isn't cropped and I haven't made any adjustments on, I kind of have not given any attention to. So just see what's in here. Yeah, see, like there's a lot of interesting texture going on. These brooms, these sandbags, these garbage, you know, even though it looks kind of chaotic, they are sorting their garbage. Keep it. Bruce asks about the process of moving stuff back and forth. You just kind of, I create a folder. I try to minimize the moving back and forth because I really don't trust Adobe's system. So I create, yeah, my strategy is I just create a specific folder that I then put all of the images that I want to be in the book, like when there's a final kind of edit, and I put them in a folder, and then I just sync that folder. So none of this stuff is being synced with Adobe. All this stuff is being backed up with Backblaze. I'm using my Synology drive. We're backing up all this stuff. Every little edit I'm making on here, change to the catalog, all this metadata, that's being backed up live to my Synology, which is then also being backed up to a Google Glacier, one of those Glacier things, I think, from the Synology. So the photos especially are being backed up in many locations. I have a better one of those somewhere. I don't know why. I want to come back to that later. Dappled light in the forest. No dappled light in the forest. I don't think I'm going to use it, but I think it's a more interesting photo. I like this photo. It's so weird. It's a strange little, that's funny. These little teepees, but just really nice colors. Great colors. Man, I was really into this like Crush Blacks mode a long time ago. The Synology I bought mainly because of the video stuff was getting way out of hand. The video is just so big, and I needed a place to kind of dump it. Yeah, you just kind of, I don't know, you can always recrop stuff. I think there's no sense in purity. There's like this idea of like, oh, look at, you can see the frames, you can see the edges of my film. Who cares? Photography is nothing about that. That's performance art. That's not photography. You know, obsessing over whether or not you got the perfect framing in the moment. You want to get good framing in the moment, because some stuff is unsalvageable. But like this one, you know, can use, it's actually kind of, you just add a ton of sky there, it suddenly becomes a more interesting image of this waterfall, which is always, you know, this waterfall, all you ever see is this. It's like, ooh, it's so oriental. I'm probably overly paranoid about overly cliched images, but you know, it's just, no one needs a book with photos that are in a bunch of other books. That's not the point of making a book, to just replicate what other books have done. That's kind of disrespectful, you know, to your own time and whatnot. But you know, it's kind of fun to think about, again, how does this stuff live with the stories? Yeah, exactly, Bruce. All photography is editing. There's no pure, perfect, like true image. A lot of photographers obsess over. So there's a reason why a lot of like geeks and like tech folks are into photography. It's because there is this. It's like, why are dorks like us into coffee? It's like, because you can kind of lose yourself in just a billion details. Like, to me, this is a more interesting place we're getting with the waterfall images here with this house, and I think that balance, more sky. I kind of like this lonely man, but I don't know if it works. I've been holding on to this. I mean, the original is like, I was pretty far away. But yeah, photography is easy to get lost in technical, basically technical goofery without actually producing work. And I am so afraid of that. The last thing I want is to be on my deathbed and go, look back and be like, wow, I really used that dead film stock, but not actually remembering what I shot with it. It's like, I don't want the I want the machines to be the memory. I want, you know, these stories and this kind of journey of going through you know, this world. And here we go. Well, I took some other photos of this. I think this is an iPhone photo, isn't it? Yeah. But it's also okay. We can definitely get a little more richness out of it. Yeah, the Kodachrome. This I like because this is a very weird cafe, and I kind of think, definitely in the context of my stories and stuff, this starts to become a very meaningful image. I wonder if I could get rid of a little bit more of that light up there. Yeah, my whole take on the technical stuff is like, if that gets you out there, like if a new film stock gets you shooting, fantastic. But if the new film stock talking about that is the only point of going out and shooting, then not so fantastic. Like, use your tools. So this image has a problem because the focus is on this pole. And actually, I printed it out somewhere. And when you print it out, it really stands out. So I do these little prints. I've got these tiny prints that I do, and I'm gonna do more of these when we get a little more specific in the selection. But let me make this bigger. so you can see that. So I don't know if that's going to focus. There we go. So when you print it out, the focus being on that telephone pole, which is in and of itself sort of interesting, is a little overwhelming. And so we'll add it, but I don't think it's going to be able to make it. That waterfall again. I just like this liquor shop. The liquor shop vending machine. But not for a book. Now we're getting into the big laundry series, where I went insane and I just shot a ton of laundry. It's because this is part of it's walking alone. You start to see these different patterns. And then part of it is like doing these walks multiple times. Go to the same place again and again and again. And then you start to recognize like, oh wow, these weird little moments of humanity that are on display kind of in the context of nature and the rest of the walk. It's actually really interesting. That's more interesting than shooting the Edo era cobblestones, which are literally in a billion books. They're everywhere. Don't need to shoot those. The blue sky is so tempting, isn't it? Always. But let's get rid of it. No. What can we do with this guy? This feels... I might be able to use it. Add it. I like this for the weirdness of it. So I could kind of imagine at some point in the book that being useful. Do, 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 do. Because the book is about the Kii Peninsula, not just Kumano-Kodo, but Kumano-Kodo will play a big part in it. I loved this weird perch here. Like, who lives here and has their little seat? I want to see the old, it has to be an old man, that sits there and just watches the road. I made some coffee with an AeroPress this morning for the first time in years. It's pretty good. I like AeroPress. Yeah, you can see. Maybe this doesn't need to be so tightly cropped. I think having the car there does make it more clear that this is a, come on, give me 4x5. A road. Yeah, I'm actually okay with going a little wider there. See, it just started to get, the eye got a little more curious by the 75th time I walked this route. I just thought this was funny, an empty vending machine. But I don't, yeah. That's just a pretty branch. Got some mist going on. Post typhoon destruction here. This is on the Omine Okugake Michi now, which is a very dangerous route that I actually don't recommend anyone to walk on. And I was just talking with a tour agency who's going to be bringing 8 people up here at the end of October when it gets down to 0 or below 0 at night. I'm not entirely sure they know what they're getting into. I advise them strongly against doing what they're doing, but they seem pretty set on it. Um, I have a whole collection of these kind of. Well, we can take that out later with a little. We'll add that in there for now. Of these kind of like bizarre, barren but beautifully colored landscapes from the Omine that I like. But we don't need 40 of them in a book. But I do think having 1 or 2 would be good. I like that tree. The tree. Where was this? There were more. Go to collection. 001. Grid. Let's see. I feel like I had another image from this. I think it was on a different walk. I think it was this one. That maybe not. God rays. Okay, no. Where were we? God, I'm almost afraid to even. I don't want to look at how far we are or aren't through this. Another branch, another interesting branch, but not interesting enough for a book. This route, it's pretty cool, I think. Let's do a new edit on this though. Don't need all that contrast. Maybe we do. I think we can bring down. So we're going from that to this. Yeah, I kind of like our new quick edit. Onward. Ooh, moody. Sunshine. I like this photo. I like this photo. Could do a landscape version of it. This. Oh, my collection structure. Bruce asks, he's curious about my collection structure. It's just years, and then I do months because you can't arrange collections manually. So I do 01, 02, 03, 04 for each of the months, and that's just where I put stuff in, and then usually I can remember, oh yeah, it was. And I got more strict about this in the last like 2 or 3 years. So if I go back 3 or 4 years, sometimes the month structure isn't there. But in the last couple of years, I've kind of gotten pretty strict about the months. But yeah, Lightroom is, there's a lot of things in Lightroom that are suboptimal, unfortunately. Oh my god. Okay. Anyway, I'm gonna stick it in there anyway. And then we started shooting the sad playgrounds. Put that in there. Don't need that ocean. Don't need those shoes. Start to get a coastline. That's right. Key Peninsula has an ocean next to it. Fascinating. This guy I kind of wanted to come back to. I want to come back to because I felt like there was a lot going on here. We're trying to find our platonic mirror photo. This is in Kisa by Kisa. That's nice, but this is actually more relevant slash interesting. Solar farms. Not gonna do the trees. This is not in Kisa by Kisa. We have two versions of it. This is the one that was in a couple weeks ago. This says Ona, which kind of in a weird way translates to like sort of, so you'd never call someone an Ona. You say Ona no hito, Ona no ko. You never just say Ona in Japanese because it sort of is like saying bitch. So there's something if you weird about this bathroom, because it's like if you came up, on a male bathroom, it was like dick, and the woman said bitch. That's sort of what that feels like a little bit, but probably not worth putting in a book. This starts to get interesting. This sort of crazy. I love how this is towering over this town. Yeah, we don't need this. Don't need that. Don't need that. We'll have better. I like this weird thing as an object. I'm going to throw it in there. I like. Oh yeah, we can get those clouds going a little bit more back there. I like this image for all the old advertisements. I like those goofy dogs. I have another photo of them from the other side. I like this broken. What's going on here? Is my computer trying to back something up again? No. I like this guy. And like I do things like in the next 2 or 3 stages of editing, like clean up this weird lens halo thing that's going on over here. And I was actually shooting with a broken leaf shutter for a while that cost $1,200 to fix. But those are artifacts that can be cleaned up later. The light here was amazing, and actually I was walking right past this is Okajimaya, and one of the oldest inns on the East Seiji, and I walked right past it and I didn't even realize it was there, and I stayed there last time. I like this guy, but I'm not sure. There's something about the clouds, but the light. There's a lot going on here, but yeah, we'll come back to it. The digger, this sort of like super moody digger. Yeah, Bruce says he was planning on doing a walk this year in Japan. I think this year is still tricky. I would not plan. My parents were actually supposed to come and visit last year, and then this year, and then this is just a great Taisho era building. And then I made the executive decision a couple months ago that it was not going to happen this year. So this says, "Nandemo taisetsu ni kichin to shimashou." So let's treat everything with importance and respect. I like these bikes. This is kind of funny. I don't know what's going on here entirely. Yeah, we'll stick it in. We already have the other scooter I think is more interesting. This is, it's kind of nice colors and stuff. A gorge. scaffolding or something. These walkers are kind of cool in the fields. Yeah, I think Japan travel will start again next spring. That is my sort of pessimistic. We just have to see what happens with Delta, really, isn't it? Oh yeah, the cicadas are going crazy right now. And you're kind of not hearing them in part because I have my AC on and my windows are closed, but it's deafening out there. Ooh, our bench! We got our bench! We'll add them both. Little truck. Little truck. Hello, little truck. We are not going to add no paths with trees. Excuse me. Yeah, it's been weird. I haven't seen my parents in 2 years now. But lots of video chats. And I might do a trip back in the lull, the travel lull between Thanksgiving and Christmas. So now we're entering this photo phase where there's lots of images that I just kind of like, and so I think we're going to end up with more photos in the end than expected. Anyway, it's a famous rock. Maybe we don't need to include it. I have a couple other shots of this thing I think that are better later on. I really like this photo. Actually, let's see if we can crop it a little differently. Yeah. I think it's a little tight up top there. There we go. This is just a wonderful house. But this is interesting. If you read Japanese, it says Hantai Seikai-san. Jimoto min nantoka. It's cut off there, but it's basically saying the locals are against UNESCO World Heritage accreditation of this path. I have a better shot of this guy to somewhere else. I like these signs a lot. This is interesting, but this is not, it's like too tight. As a detail, it's a little weird. It doesn't quite come together. I've been looking at that photo for years. I don't really know. I'm not gonna add that. I like this guy. Our boat, famous boat photo. It's kind of an ugly photo, but it's kind of interesting. I'm just trying to think about like how this stuff is a little bit overly blown, the highlights there in the sky. Just trying to think about how this stuff will play. Sitting next to some of the other things. These tsunami escape pods. So you can really see the shutter issue here on the left. Super pronounced, but we can fix that by doing one of these things. And basically, we're just kicking up the exposure on that part of the image. We can also minimize So let me do before and after. That's the original image. It's like quite a bit of, but we can also crop in to get rid of the leak. Basically, the shutter wasn't actuating at the right speed for 1/4000th of a second. Anyway, add that in there. I just thought this is kind of funny. You can just imagine there's certain images that alone as an image aren't going to work, but in sequence would work, and as a diptych against a certain story would work. So I'm being pretty liberal. Now we're back. Now we're already into the most recent walk. These are images from that walk. And this is great. These are card loans, card loan, card loan, card loan. Yeah, like I'm adding all these to kind of the bucket. But I think it's a good sign that basically the more recent photos are the ones I'm most excited about, are the ones that I feel like kind of have the most legs, strongest legs. So it seems to, I think that's a good indication of progression, development of an eye or whatever. As opposed to being like, oh man, I love the images I was taking before, but this is just, it's just weird. We'll throw it in there, whatever. We'll take so much of this stuff out later. Oh my god, a human. If you notice, there are no people in any of these photos. Upside down wheelbarrow. See, like that would be, there's a story about this guy's shop, and like that image kind of works with that. This is just such a weird piece of graffiti of like, it's like a plug. I just think it's hilarious. I don't entirely know what it means. Now we're in a Kisa. I don't know why I like that image, but I do. This one I think is very cool. I also shoot, when I'm shooting a lot of these things, I shoot landscape and portrait if it's kind of a scene I like to give me options later when I'm doing layouts. It's just nice to have both, and it's so easy to do. Why not? Why not just shoot both? I just thought this was very funny. I don't know what's going on here. Farmer just left that tree in the middle of his rice field, the little sapling. Other angle with the dogs. We're back. We have two of that guy. Different days, different... Dun, 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 dun. Dun, 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 dun. This is me being interested in these. The wall, the tree, the mirror, this rusted door, and trying to figure out how to shoot it, and then being, oh, okay, here we go. This old guy, I mean, what is going on here? Just this kind of old guy sitting in a pile of garbage cutting something. I thought that was kind of unique. I think we have the gas, the propane guy delivering propane to the shrine, the famous shrine. Something nice about this, like completely beautiful, empty road. That's the thing about Japanese infrastructure, is this commitment to supporting it, even with so few people using it. Sort of like the opposite. It's the inversion of American infrastructure. Oh, 1 trillion people use this piece of infrastructure? We're not going to put any money into that. In Japan, it's like, what, 6 people drive their car over this road every year? All right, we're going to redo it every single year. Yeah, Bruce asks about the 1/4000th of a second, and yeah, mainly, I mean, it is nice to be able to shoot wide open outside. I have an ND filter on most of the time, so that covers it. That allows you to shoot pretty much in any conditions, and it works okay. Back at that bench. It's kind of different now. So I think there's some opportunity for like multi-year displaced diptychs put them right next to each other, some of these images, over the course of there, that's a better. What am I shooting with here? This is, oh, I have the Leica. This is just funny with the sumo stuff going on and these old coins. This is just in a big open garage. There's that house again. Wet. Very different vibe, wet. I can tell I'm getting a little bit exhausted, and I'm, let's take this one out, and I'm starving. Oop. Back at the signs. Well, it'll be interesting to compare the sign photos, so let me put them both in there. Wheelbarrows. Started shooting lots of wheelbarrows. There's that guy again, we can compare. Yeah. More wheelbarrows. I just like that tree. I like that curve. I like that man. This is kind of nice, this house. I don't know. I'm definitely my eyes are kind of the talking through it while I'm doing is actually, it's pretty helpful for me, but it definitely adds a layer of burnoutiness. So we're an hour and a half into this. It's basically like watching a movie with no. It's kind of nice. I don't know. Watching a movie with no story. I like this photo a lot. Let me just do a quick chop. So we have the option to use it in portrait. But yeah, it's like watching a movie with no narrative, and you've got to make, every 10 seconds you have to make a decision about whether or not you like the frame in the movie. So we're almost done, I think. And what I'll do then is I will step away from the computer. Yeah, these dogs are super depressing. There was this really, really nasty house, all garbage, full of dogs. like 20 dogs, 30 dogs. They just looked abused. It's pretty sad. Wheelbarrows, which in Japanese I learned are called te oshi guruma, which literally means hand push car, which I just thought was hilariously uninspired naming. It's like, what? Te oshi guruma? Yeah, like, so that here's that bridge shot from the ground. Newspapers. Kissa, but not really worth. It's typhoon knockdown. We have another photo of this guy, like 3 years earlier. Down closer, more squarely aligned. So again, diptych potential. The Key Peninsula over time. I'm probably the only person doing multiple photos of like that guy's laundry over the course of 8 years. My own laundry. Show you my underwear. That's a crazy boat. Kind of like that. If we're gonna do a photo of the waterfall, make it with someone doing a photo of the waterfall. Back here. Edo. Ishidatami. That's kind of cool infrastructure. I remember when they started building that years ago. I was walking past it. It's very strange having a relationship with like a dam. And now I walk past, I'm like, oh, nice. It's there. It is. It looks okay. Hopefully, it's protecting the village from some kind of bad event. There we go. This is the escape pod I was looking for. Oops, not that one. Trying to zoom in. Helicopter. Huh. Okay. We caught a little helicopter up there. Train station. Another wheelbarrow. Let's properly edit this guy a little bit. See what we can pull out. Because I think it's kind of interesting having the little bit of the room in there, like the table. Weird hotel. Creepy hotel. I got out of there very fast in the morning. This is kind of a little bit interesting because this woman in this sort of salacious, I mean, you can imagine this is an ad from like 50 years ago, and this is for, oh good god, I'm so tired. This is an ad for mosquito coils, and she's, you know, showing off, yeah, I guess pre-bed, you know, slip or whatever, and she's sort of like, I'm getting ready to go to sleep and I can show all this skin and mosquitoes are totally not going to come in because I've got this mosquito coil burning. And right next to it is a sign about Christ. So yeah, about the, you know, the eternal nature of Christianity and abiding by Christ. I like that. Wait, did I add this to the yeah, we'll keep it in for now. Stuff, junk, weird hedges, nice light with little globule light things, nice kisa. Yeah, trust me, you will not accidentally end up staying at that hotel. Um, this was the best cafe. If you do go down there, you have to go get some coffee and a tuna melt sandwich or some French toast from this cafe. So good, so good. That's a station. That little concrete blob. That is a station. This is a highway being built. That's a crazy house. There we go. Solar panels. Abandoned bike. Twilight walk. Tiny room. Old lady. Different kinds of sand. More sand. Onions? Just a wheelbarrow of onions. A totally crazy, this is like a pedestrian bridge with no walls, and it's fairly high. Like, you do not want to fall off this thing. No walls whatsoever. And it's like a meter wide. I was like, this is not something that would fly in America. Is that it? We're done? Woo! Okay, so we went from 584 to 263. All right. That is a thing. Good. So basically halved them. That's good. That's a good step one. Good step one. Anyway, thanks everyone. Oh my god, I am oxygen deprived. I'm gonna go get some food, and I'm gonna go outside for the first time today, and I'm gonna go ride my electric bike along the coast a little bit to kind of decompress. I've actually been doing phone calls all morning and meetings all morning, so I think I've had enough talking for today. Anyway, but thanks for tuning in, and more coming this week. Got some other cool stuff I'm gonna be announcing and sending messages about. So we'll talk soon. See ya.